When you flip a coin, what are the odds it comes up heads or tails?
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Yeah, 50-50 each and every time we flip a coin. But what if you flip a coin and it comes up 10, 50, 100 times in a row, it comes up heads? Do we think, hey, it's due, tails is due, the next flip is more likely to be tails than heads, right? Wrong.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
For what?
Just call it.
Every single time we flip a coin, the odds are only and always 50-50.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair.
So if you've ever used a coin to make a significant or insignificant decision between one or two things, then you've tried to do something that we all need to learn, and that is to avoid one of the most difficult things in productivity, to achieving more productivity, and that is this problem called decision fatigue, where we're so wearied by all the decisions or all the parts that go into decision that finally we just throw our hands up and we leave it to fate. We just flip a coin. So let's take a look at how we can get beyond decision fatigue, become more productive, not just more decisive, but we can actually get more of what we want to get done. So tap the like button, that's a no-brainer, and let's take a look at decision fatigue. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show. And if you look at my channel, you see that I've done a couple hundred videos. And guess what? The openings and the close, the outro are exactly the same. Why? Because I made a decision. I'm just going to default to it. Is it the best option? I don't know. Do you like it? Some of you do. But have I done something? Yes, I've eliminated a decision so that each and every time I do a video, I don't have to say, I wonder how I should start. I wonder if I should use that music. Maybe I should change it up. Thinking that all the minutiae, all those little things will somehow improve the quality of life or even the quality of my videos. They won't. And that means I've eliminated something that can plague people and keep people from productivity. I've avoided decision fatigue. And we do it all the time in our life where we set up things as habits rather than as decisions that we make. Will I go to the bathroom this morning? Is that really an option? Well, for some people that are perplexed and unsure of what they're going to do next, they can actually be stifled and their lives can stop because they're not able to just do certain things by habit and get beyond decision fatigue.
Look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything. Call it.
Decision fatigue hits us when we try to control everything we can control, usually because we realize we've lost control of bigger, more significant things. So we try to grab on to a sense of agency. That's what psychologists call it, where we actually feel like we actually have a choice in things. And people, by the way, play on our emotions, but we want to get your input on this. And then you realize they've already made up their mind. They just want you to feel like you've been heard. All that does is play into our insecurities, our lack of control. And that's where decision fatigue can make us so unproductive in our life. We can take small consolation in things because we believe we've been heard or because we believe our decisions make a difference. When we have to realize that most of the decisions that we make in our life will not radically alter the course of our life or the lives of those around us. Some big significant ones will, but we need to learn to distinguish between the small things and the big things.
All right. Heads then.
Well done. Don't put it in your pocket.
Sir?
Don't put it in your pocket. It's your lucky quarter.
Where you want me to put it?
Anywhere not in your pocket. Or it'll get mixed in with the others and become just a coin. Which it is.
The fatigue of decision fatigue is depleting mental energy and time. By making a series of decisions in a fixed time, the energy we expend is usually tied to things like low self-confidence or even anxiety. Now, we all experience decision fatigue at times, and it's why people that when they ask us to do 6 different things in an email, our brains shut off and we don't burn the calories of having to figure out which of the 6 things we should do, which is why good marketers, for example, tell us to do one thing in 3 different ways so that we get to pick the one we think we are choosing when they've really only given us one option. That's how people sell us things. That's how decision fatigue is used to the advantage of marketers and salespeople. So watch for that. But most of us realize that there are sometimes decisions when we're just asked too many decisions. If you've been to Cheesecake Factory lately, how many pages of fine print menu are there? Some people cannot handle the menu and so they avoid Cheesecake Factory. Yes, that's decision fatigue. Now, I'm not a clinical professional, but I've been fascinated with the elements of decision and habit and productivity throughout my life, where I've been forced because of circumstances to become more productive, not only in order to survive, but to achieve what I wanted, some goals that I wanted, like finishing my undergrad degree in 3 years rather than 4, or pursuing a Ph.D. when people around me said, "Really? You? Ph.D.? I don't think so." There are things that you just have to push through, whether you want to, or even if the chip on your shoulder because people told you, "No, you can never do that." There are things that you decide, and you have to eliminate smaller things in order to aim for bigger things. You make choices, larger choices, and by that, the cascade effect is that smaller choices are made for us. But it's when we obsess, thinking that each and every individual decision will add up in some magical formula with no remainder and nothing left out, that will not just lead to, it's not multiplication, it's addition. If you live in a world of multiplication, that is, you make a big decision and you realize small decisions are accounted for, that's where you have an exponential upside of multiplication. But most of us stuck with decision fatigue are stuck in addition, where we think if we make 1 and then 2 and then 3, a sequence of individual good decisions, they will all add up and we won't lose any of them. And we lose sight of the ability to multiply because we're stuck in an addition mode. Most of the choices we make, the small decisions like, I'll have Swiss rather than cheddar, are all amoral decisions. They're taste, they're preference, they're not consequential, they're not life-changing, they're simply incidental. Now, if you get food poisoning from the Swiss cheese, but you wouldn't have got it from the cheddar cheese, you didn't know that. And looking back on it saying, oh, if I'd only known, and that's where we get this idea of knowledge paralysis. That is that we think that if we just know more, we're going to make better decisions. Doesn't always work out that way. It's knowing differently or knowing better that we're really after. You may have heard this old parable about a farmer and his circumstance. It's called usually something like good, bad, who's to say. And it goes like this. A farmer and his son had a beloved horse who helped the family earn a living. One day the horse ran away and the neighbors exclaimed, "Your horse ran away, what terrible luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few days later, the horse returned, leading a few wild horses back to the farm as well. And the neighbor shouted, "Your horse has returned and brought several horses with him. What great luck!" And the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to break one of the horses, and the horse threw him to the ground and it broke his leg. And the neighbor said, "Your son broke his leg. What terrible luck!" And the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through town, recruiting all the boys for the army. They did not take the farmer's son because he had a broken leg, and the neighbor shouted, "Your boy is spared, what tremendous luck!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not, we'll see." You see, unless we're in a situational game in which we're creating incremental versions of reality, having to build it like some godlike being, creating all things with all knowledge, we do not know the outcome of our decisions, but we make them in the moment by the best of our ability or our knowledge. Yes, some of us make stupid decisions, and those are on us. Learning not to blame others is one of the important features of learning to own the decisions that we struggle with decision fatigue. But for most of us, that means that more knowledge will not always settle it, and we are not God or a God-like creator being who can just create a world out of nothing and we create whims and control others at our will. We don't have that ability. What we do have is the ability to make the decisions based on what we know at the time. For example, 50 years ago, the average grocery store in the United States had just 4,000 SKUs. Today, the average grocery store has over 40,000 SKUs and dozens of different kinds of ketchup. The decisions we are called upon to make today, doing a simple thing like shopping, are exponentially more than the decisions we would have had to make 40 years ago in our parents' generation. How do we handle that difference? Most of us choose a brand or choose price, and that's how we make a decision. And that means that we are able to avoid decision fatigue. When we feel richer, sometimes we'll avoid price and we'll choose brand because we think we deserve it. That is, we'll pay to feel a certain way. That's a decision we make because of how rich or poor we feel in the moment. And that's how, on a daily basis, how decisions can affect things like what kind of ketchup you buy. And the higher functioning you are in your life, in your role, in your work, and whatever it is you do, the more you've learned to create habits that eliminate everyday decisions in order to accomplish the larger things that you want in life, and therefore you become more productive. I've done a video on the power of habits and the influence of habits in today's culture, and you can check out that video here. But it's a great way to eliminate the small things so that you can accomplish the bigger things. But here's the missing component of this solving the decision fatigue most of us handle, and that is usually decisions have a time limit. That is, if we don't make a decision within the appropriate amount of time, the decision will be made for us. Now, some of us, passively aggressively, that's what it is, live this way by default. We just can't make a decision. We can't make a decision, so we realize, well, I don't have any more options, or that option has evaporated. Whether it's applying for a job and then somebody fills it and we say, oh, I must not have been meant to have the job. No, maybe you were meant to apply 3 weeks ago when you heard about the job instead of waiting. Yes, the solution for some of us is we eliminate decisions because we can't handle them, or we over-aggrandize them, and so we decide not to make them in order that decisions will be made for us, because time is a taskmaster that will make decisions for us if we do not make them ourselves. Now, psychologists call this passive aggressiveness fear avoidance. And that is that we simply avoid the extreme, the fear that we face in making a decision, because we think it's going to be more consequential. And so we just put it off until the decision is made for us. And we feel as though anything that happens to us was just meant to happen. Fate or circumstances or God, whatever it is, it's just the will of the universe. And I just wasn't meant for that. That person wasn't meant for me. That job, that career, that education, that opportunity must not have been meant for me. As though that's how you've chosen to live your life. And that's at the heart of decision fatigue, and how we fail to function to our highest when we allow ourselves to become mired in minutia. Now, here's an example of how one family friend handled this. That is, they were so mired in the small things, they simply couldn't make a simple decision like which side of the bed to get out of in the morning. So their behavioral psychologist, their CBT, cognitive behavioral therapist, gave them a coin. Yeah, back to the coin flip, and said, every single decision that you struggle with, flip a coin. Say, if it's tails, I'll get out the left side. If it's heads, I'll get out the right side of the bed. And they did it. Now, this was meant to free them, just with the fate of an either or of a coin flip. What it actually did was compound the problem. Don't tell CBT this, but cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the more common forms of quackery in the world today. We think that if we can just think about things better, that somehow magically we'll be better. Don't get me started. But what I will tell you is that for our family friend, it just meant that he ended up flipping the coin before 10 a.m., ended up flipping the coin more than 1,000 times. Should I toast the bread? Eat it like this. Should I use butter or not? Should I use grape jam? Should I use strawberry jam? Should I make an egg? Should I eat it with a fork? Should I eat it standing up? Should I eat it over the sink? Should I eat it at the table? Should I eat it on the couch? Should I turn on the TV? How about the radio? Should I turn on both? Should I just turn on one? Yes, that's the life that flipping a coin led them to. By the way, that's the life you want? Sign up for it right here, because decision fatigue is ready to meet you and defeat you. So if you're stuck, if you feel yourself suffering from decision fatigue, or if there are certain decisions that you think of as much more important than what color shirt you're going to wear tomorrow, when you get in those situations, here are some of the basics that psychologists, experts in the field, recommend, and they're things that I have tried when I couldn't get beyond small decisions myself, and I found them useful. The first thing is pick something, anything, and make it automatic. Make your bed every single morning, buy uniforms instead of fashion, that is, eliminate choices. Set out your clothes you're going to wear the night before, whatever it is. Make your schedule the day before and just stick with it. No matter what. That is, just pick something, anything, and start there. Make a decision and trivialize it. Say, oh, it doesn't mean much. I just picked a gray shirt today. So what? That is, it was clean. It was in my closet. I have 3 of them. Why? Because I've gone with a uniform. That is a basic set of colors, a basic set of outfits, and therefore I don't have to obsess about whether or not I'm going to be fashionable today. Now, if you're in the fashion business, you're a designer, you're in a high-end store, then you're going to have to do that. That's what you're signing up for. But you are not a designer. Most of us don't live that life, and our ego doesn't need anything more than a uniform to feel good about ourselves, especially when we can produce more than people who end up obsessing about whether or not their belt matches their shoes. The second advice that professionals give is to begin to eliminate choices and to simplify life. That is, avoid big box stores. Avoid stores where you have 13, 15 different options of ketchup. Go to Trader Joe's, go to a smaller store, whatever it is that you can afford, and eliminate the complexity of life. The third bit of advice is when something can be done in a minute or 2, do it. Do not create a to-do list. Now, I do have a to-do list. I have bigger things that are out there that have to be done. And I use that to-do list and I say, I'm going to do the big thing because it has to be done, and everything else, be damned, I'm just going to do the big thing because that's the thing that needs to be done. And I then find that the lesser things on that list evaporate or become inconsequential. The next thing is also, if you can do something in that minute or 2, just do it. Stop whatever you're doing. If somebody looks at you and said, hey, you see that vase up on top of the cabinet? You're the only one tall enough to reach it. Can you go get it for me? Don't write it on a to-do list. Get up off your butt and go move it, put it down on the table, and you're done. Don't make a decision about when am I going to do it? When's the best time to do it? Should I do it now or should I do it later? Again, if something can be done, something trivial, something insignificant, just do it. Now let me give you the full list that professionals, those are the things that I concentrate on that I just shared with you, but here's a list of 7 things that decrease decision fatigue. First is simplify your wardrobe, talked about that. Practicing a morning routine, talked about that. Reduce clutter in your environment, that is simplify your life to eliminate things that clutter or hoard. Yes, 4 is apply rule number 3 to your to-do list. I do that. 5 is slow down your schedule. Don't think you're more important than you really are just because you have a busy schedule. Don't think that you have to accept every meeting invitation. In fact, if someone invites you to a meeting, send them an email saying, why? Can we accomplish this in an email? Don't look at a schedule that you've made overly busy on purpose to make yourself feel important or to compare like, well, look, I'm doing as much work as so-and-so because look at their schedule. Don't use that as a crutch that you have to rely on to feel important about the work you're doing. The next thing is simplify your meal routine. Yeah, simplify it. Either stop preparing meals yourself, do meal prep on the weekends, get one of those meal services. Simplify your meal routine. There are ways of doing it without going broke. And here's the 7th one, and this one is really curious. Ask yourself what decision would be best for you for your brain. If you're looking for ways to get beyond decision fatigue, the first 6 on this list, great. The 7th one is going to put you back at step 1. It is the worst friggin' advice. It's sitting there thinking about what you should be thinking about is the reason why you're trying to get out of decision fatigue and become more productive in the first place. Why psychologists want you to go back to that is so they want you to show up next week for your appointment and be able to pay your cognitive behavioral therapist again for another session. Just get beyond this. Not everything is supposed to make us happy. Not everything is supposed to make us rich. Some things we just have to do because that's what it means to be human. And so you do those things and don't expect making your bed to make you a happy person. But when you do make your bed, as famously it goes, at least you've done something, you've accomplished something. And learning to accomplish things is what we're after. Hey, and thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? Because it really helps, and it's something that you can do. And while you're down there, could you subscribe and ring the notifications bell? Because it really helps. I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.